Hey chefs, what's going on in the kitchen? Jamie here. Today I wanted to talk about optimizing for momentum, and by that I mean when you've got someone interested in your service, how you can actually continue that even if they don't book. So maybe later down the line that you can get them in, or that you actually educate them so it makes the actual onboarding process that little bit smoother. So I see a lot of personal chefs on their websites. You have a form where the prospect reaches out, so you are most likely going to call them. That seems to be the most effective way because it is very difficult to articulate every single thing that a personal chef does in a website. So if you are just putting up dishes, then you are selling a product. Whereas if you are actually going into the kitchen, personalizing all the meals, then that would be a service. And when it is service based, it is much more difficult to actually put everything in there that we do. So the easiest way is to actually get them on the call. But it's not a new way, but it's a way that a lot of chefs are missing out on, because what I'm seeing is after your contact form, which in a lot of cases is asking way too much information, remember the purpose of everything when you're putting together your website, your contact form. Like, why are they filling that out? If it is a form for you to know their specific needs much better because you've already spoken to them, then you want to know every single detail, like do you like coriander and all the rest of it, all of that information. That information shouldn't be gathered before the initial conversation. Or even worse is when you see chefs actually asking like, how many burners do you have on your stove? Because these are all post consult questions when they're actually buying into the service. Because before that, the goal normally of that page is just to get people to get on the phone so you can find out more about what they're looking for and let them know about what you provide. So really think about every step of the process, and do you need to be doing something? Because a lot of people are making this same mistake, and I think it's because people are going to other chefs' websites and then it's because they do it, I'm going to do it too. But it doesn't really make sense to, because the more things that you actually put on the form, the less chance you actually have of getting them to fill out that form. It's much easier to get someone to fill out a 4-point form than it is to fill out a really long one. A few months ago, when I was in Melbourne, I was looking at another chef who seems to boast that he does well, but I question that with the way he's actually optimized everything. But no word of a lie, 10 minutes in and I was still filling out the form. So I thought with AI and all of this stuff that when I actually filled out this form, it was going to generate me a menu around what information I was giving him. And it didn't do that at all. At the end of it, this was only for a consult. At the end of it, after asking me how many burners I had, how many stoves I had, do I have a butler's pantry, and the list went on and on and on. At the end of it, it was like, thanks for the information, we're going to be in touch. And it was like, I just spent 10 minutes on there. Most people would not even have got to that 10-minute mark because it's just way too long. So really think about what you need to be asking and reduce it to as little as possible, basically. So name, email address, telephone number, and depending on what form you're actually sending them to, if you know that you've been running ads in a local area, then you don't even need to ask that they're in the local area. But if it's your main contact form for your website, where it's been organic traffic, then just pop in ask them for the suburb, because they could be, they could be in another town, named the same, but in a different state. Which was a common occurrence for me. Just so you know that you can shoot them an email and be like, hey, thanks for your inquiry, but we don't service this area because we are in this state. So that's one thing to do. And then more importantly than that is, or not more importantly, but as equally important, I would say, is a lot of the time after the form has been filled out, a message pops up, or even like one line without any redirect on the website, it just pops up, thanks for your message, or thanks for getting in touch, or thank you, we'll be in touch soon. But this is like a missed opportunity, because with most forms, like 99% of forms, I doubt that you can actually find a form that doesn't do this, regardless of what platform you're using, is you put in a redirect and you send them to a thank you form. And you want to do that for multiple reasons. First off, you want to do that because for the Facebook pixel, and that means that you can retarget people when you've got the URL put into Facebook. Then you can create an audience of people that have visited certain sites, which is ridiculously powerful when it comes to marketing, because it means that if someone visits your URL website and they don't take a certain action, then you can retarget them tomorrow or next week or next month or in 6 months' time with another offer. They've already seen you, but depending on what page they've visited, then you can actually give them an offer in an ad form, which means if your form was for not necessarily for contact, but it was for something like you're delivering them a guide or something like that, it could be that because they visited that thank you page, it means they've shown some sort of interest in your service, which means later on you could actually retarget them with an ad to say, hey, because you were interested in this, I think you would really like this, So that's the way you bring them back, by what interest they've already shown in the site. But what I want to kind of stress today is, at the very beginning of my service, my telephone conversations with clients were almost painful, where we had to discuss pretty much everything, like all of their dietary requirements, pricing, how it works, getting into the house, and all of these things. So it made the conversation really long and difficult, because especially the pricing part. But what you can do is, when you have a thank you page, you say, hey, thanks very much for your inquiry, or thanks very much for showing an interest in my 5-day menu plan, or whatever it might be. And here it is. But also there you have an opportunity to then give them more information about your service, where it could be that you show a video of how you actually turn up to the house when they're not home, that you've got a master lock that you supply them or that they already have. So you just have that access to the code. Or another one is pretty common now, is they add you to the app on their phone so they can see the coming and going of you entering and leaving the house, or whatever it works out to be. But actually show you doing it, because that will create trust, because they're seeing you go into someone else's home to do a cook. It doesn't have to be an amazing video. It can literally just be you doing a selfie video, and okay, here's the master lock, and I'm just going to grab the key, and then we're going to head into the house, and we're waiting for the delivery, or you can see everything's already been delivered for me, or you're rocking up to the house with the stuff. But actually just give them a video, or whatever you want. It doesn't have to be that. It could be, hey, thanks for your inquiry. I'm going to give you a call at the specified time, if you sent them to a calendar. And here are 5 points I want you to know before we jump on the phone. So you could give them like an outline of your service, or what they can expect from the service, how detailed and specific they can be about what they can ask for. Because depending on how you're optimizing your business, if you're being incredibly bespoke, where you pretty much do everything, then you can, obviously it's going to be a higher price, so then maybe you can tell them how the pricing works. So there are so many options in what can be used. Or it could even be that you've given them a free PDF, and then you want to invite them to another product. Like, hey, if you like this product, then this cooking course that I've put together is going to show you how to get banging meals on the table with less than 30 minutes of cook time in the evening. Or if we do a meal prep together, a live meal prep together, then you can get the whole week's worth of food done in 2 hours or whatever it is. Because you can hook things up for them where it's like, you could use a local supplier where you say, okay, you go to your veg store that has a fishmonger and a butcher, and you say, hey, how much would all of this be? And you put together a kit, and it's going to cost you $50 for this meal plan. And you say, okay, anyone that orders this, that's going to come through my link, then you can give me 5%, 10%, and you start earning revenue that way because it's all local. These people can just like go on the site and be like, okay, it's your company, and they can buy that week's package, and it gets put together for them. They come in, they pick it up, and it saves them time. So the things like this are super valuable for people that are inquiring about a service, because not everyone can afford it. So it is like, how can you make money in other ways to accommodate more people, but not necessarily spending loads of time? That would be together to be putting a meal plan together. You come up with the shopping list, and then you just use that once every 3 months. So you come up with 12 of them, and then you just do a rotation. So there's always something, and people can, $12, $20, whatever. Like they can buy an individual one for $8, or they can buy the whole 3-month program for $50. It's completely up to you. But there's just opportunities to do things on the thank you page where you just don't want it to be going to, hey, thanks for your inquiry, and that being it. You really want to optimize everything. And these people are hot. When someone has just filled out a form on your website, they are hot. They are at the hottest point that they're going to be at. That's why you want to get on the call as quickly as possible. Like if you see that inquiry come in, like I used to do it where if I saw that come in, I would literally just press the number and call them, like whatever I was doing, because they might not have even left the page at that point. They're still like watching your video, and then you're calling them and they're super impressed by that, but they're also at the hottest point because they've just filled out the form. So that's when they're most interested. So if you take a long time to get back to them, then the longer you take, then the cooler they get. So that's why you want to be quick. But just think about, obviously it depends on how your service is set up or what you are actually selling. It could even be that they've placed an order for the meals, and then it's sending them to the thank you page for placing the order. But then maybe you could have some desserts there, and you're then getting them to add on desserts. Like, obviously that really does depend on what system you're using, because if they put in their credit card details, normally that transaction has been charged for. But there are some platforms that allow you to, even though the charge has gone through, they can still order more products. And then because the charge is still pending with the merchant bank, it hasn't actually secured that amount. It's just a pending payment, so it can actually be modified. So that's also a way of upselling, which is after the sale. It's like that add-on just before they exit the website. So there are so many things to do like this that you can implement in your business. So really just look at every stage, like from your social media. What can I do there to optimize things on my social media? What can I do on my website to optimize and increase value for them, and also maybe cart value? And then obviously once they've inquired, then ideally they should be going into a spreadsheet, or they should be going into an automation that then continues. So if they decide not to buy that day, or when you call them, that you can actually keep on following up as regularly as possible, because you really want to be doing it via automation, because otherwise once you actually get busy, you're going to be busy cooking, and then you're going to have to follow up with people. And also what happens is the busier you get, the kind of lazier you get, because you're so busy. You're like, okay, I'm good with clients now. But what happens is you end up having this up and down period, because you're super busy here. At the high point, you don't put in the work or follow up with clients as you should be. So then when clients do drop off, you actually have a lull because you haven't been cultivating those clients to then shift them into your business when a spot becomes available. So ideally, you want to be doing it via automation. At the very beginning, you can think it's really expensive because most of the platforms are working out about $500, but there are some free ones, but they do have less capabilities. But it is certainly one of the places where you can generate the most interest in your service is, with on the social side, probably if you've got an audience of 500 people, only 10%, so 50 people are actually seeing your content. Whereas with email, they're always going to get it. Maybe it goes to their spam, but they are always going to get that email. And then, especially if you deliver a lead magnet previously, that means they've actually, if they haven't received the lead magnet, they would have gone into their spam folder and opened that email. So the system is recognizing you as being an okay email address. So that is today's think about topic. So really think about when someone hits one page, goes to the next page, how can you maximize on that and make it better for you, because you can spend less time on the phone if you've actually done this correctly, where you've answered a lot of their questions. But it makes it better for them because they're going to have a clearer understanding of your service. And if it's not for them after that, then at least when you do call them, they're going to go, hey, I saw your video, I thought it was something different, or hey, maybe that's too expensive for us. And there's some out, because you don't want to be spending 20 minutes, half an hour on the phone when they kind of know that they are not a good fit for your service. So that's it, something to think about, and I will catch you in the next episode.